Ophir continuing to win the prize for first to the meeting.
Yeah. From the West Coast. Let's limit that to that. You're the East Coast, I'm the West Coast.
Yeah, but I mean, you still beat me a lot of times, so
Ah, okay. I try to fix it. Sorry, apologies. H- How's life at Nvidia compared to Intel?
pretty good. But after I left Intel, you kind of see that stock price went like banana.
So you're the explanation for that.
That's right. So if Nvidia stock goes down, you know who's responsible.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm sure that it's a totally different culture, right?
Yeah, it is very different.
Yeah.
How have things been in Judah?
Yeah, same culture. Small company fighting on the daily basis, but never boring.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Well, I
Mhm.
appreciate that you can make time for this when I assume you guys are a lot harder to allocate time for this with being a smaller company.
Yeah, but it's it's 7 a.m., so it's before the real noise starts.
Yeah.
Mm, cool. I'm going back to the background.
Okay. Duan, thanks for staying up late and joining us today.
Oh, hey Dan.
Nice to see you on the call.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
Yeah.
So I haven't been to managed to get to one of these for a while, so I thought I'd try and join for a little bit. I probably won't stay for very long, unless there's Dan, anything you or whoever is co-chairing this would particularly like me to get involved with, or action, or otherwise help with. So I'm going to I'll be around for a bit, but I'll try not to get in the way,
Sounds
and
good.
let me know if there's anything I can do to help with things.
Thank you.
So.
Can I get these slides up here momentarily? So I assume it's not coming through my microphone, but I do have some background noise here today. So if that becomes a problem, feel free to let me know.
Fine at the moment, as far as I can tell. Don't know if other people are struggling, but it's fine for me.
Yep, agree.
Great, great. So the screams from the torture chamber aren't coming through. It's good for me to know.
Presume they'll continue until morale improves. Yeah?
Exactly. Okay, well, we're a few minutes after the hour, and I want to respect people's time who have made it here on time. So I'm going to get through the preliminaries. We do have some logistical stuff to get through. So, okay, welcome everybody to the May 28th edition of the Technical Advisory Council of the Confidential Computing Consortium. We are an open and collaborative organization. Everybody's welcome to get involved in the conversation today, just as you're welcome to participate in our open source projects and in our other technical working groups. We all have to abide by antitrust regulations and the rules that the Linux Foundation has made available for us. So you can read those on linuxfoundation.org/antitrust-policy. Packed agenda today, simply packed. We started an email vote on Blueprint C, and I don't think that ever concluded on email. So once we get more voting members online, I want to be able to conclude that if we can. We had Duan join in from the SPDM project to give us an update. So appreciate Duan joining us late in the night from PRC for that. Mark has been the standards bearer for the GRC SIG for a while, and it's got some topics to talk about to energize that working group. And then we have continuous work to do on the two other blueprints that we wanted to get done. Well, really, we wanted to get these things done back in Q1, but I think it's still fair to get them done in Q2. And Alec also wanted to get an update to the TAC white paper before the CC summit, and I think time grows short for that. I don't see Alec on, so if somebody wouldn't mind pinging Alec if they have a way to do that, I want to make sure that we make progress on that front as well. And then let's see here. Next time we will have an update from the Open Enclave SDK. We didn't get to the attestation SIG last time, so we got to get that worked in. And then Mingshen is on deck to be the rotating chair, and I do not see Mingshen either. So
yes, I will check with Alec regarding the white paper. Yes.
say that again, please.
So I'll ask Alec about the white paper. So I'll get back once I can discuss that with him. Yes.
Thank you. All right, we are going to skip. Well, no, I guess we got enough people. We can do a real quick roll call so I know who's here. I see Nathaniel joined. Thanks for that. Anybody from Google, Renee or Keith? No. Huawei? No. Scott, thanks for joining. Meta, do we have Ahmed or no? We do not yet have Alec. We have me and Fritz. And do we have Mingshen yet? Nope. And no Bob. Bob was the scheduled rotating chair, by the way, so he is absent without leave. So I think that's 3 of us on the voting list, but appreciate everybody else joining who are not on the voting list. This is the time in the meeting where if you are new, you haven't introduced yourself at least once or twice, we encourage you to pop off of mute and let us know how you like to be addressed, where you're joining from, and what interests you about confidential computing and collaborating at the CCC.
Maybe I can start. So I'm Cédric Fournet. I'm from Microsoft. I'm a researcher in security and cryptography. I've been working for maybe 10 years on confidential computing, and I'm happy to discuss it with you.
That's great. And remind me, what project or projects do you normally involve yourself with?
I've been working on CCF, on some of the confidential computing services at Microsoft. For transparency, for example, I'm the co-author of the SCIT architecture for software transparency at the IETF. I'm also I've been working on confidential AI and how to make GPUs confidential computing grade.
Very cool. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
think I see a couple names that might not be regular joins. You're not obligated to introduce yourself, but you are more than welcome to.
Hey everybody, my name is Cameron Dennis. I work on a project called Near AI, and we built a private inference network running on GPUs to eGPUs, and we also built an agent framework called Ironclaw, and it's mainly focused on security. So you have our secure agent framework plus confidential compute for inference, and you get the security needs that enterprises and governments want for agent workflows. And so we work with mainly financial services and governments on automation. And so, yeah, that's a bit what we do, and excited to be here.
Well, that's
Are
cool.
you-
Iron Claw sounds like that's a great product name.
Are you members? I don't recognize the name. I may have
Yeah, we're
missed it.
members.
I
Mike, you
do
came to your-
apologize then. I should
Yep.
pay more attention. Sorry. I've been out for a few days. Sorry. I'll
Yep.
have another check. Sorry, Cameron.
Well, we're glad to have you here, Cameron. All right. Well, if anybody else would later like to introduce themselves, feel free to interject at any time. We're going to move on to the old business. I don't think we have either of our PMs with us today, but maybe as you are listening to the recording after the fact, I think we need to update the minutes process. I went back to look at the minutes from the last several meetings, and they're just sort of the initial stub was put up through the new automation, which is good, but it never got filled in then with the actual contents of the meetings. I was absent for the last meeting, and Ijlal took over chair responsibilities, and I know we had a great tech talk from Alec. I listened to the recording of that or watched the recording of that. Can somebody help me with any other business that was covered that we can fill in here? I remember hearing Nathaniel commenting during the meeting, so I know you were there. Not sure who else was present.
I should maybe try to not stand out so much.
Appreciated hearing all the commentary. Do you recall any other topics besides the talk from Alec? You needn't be suddenly shy.
No, it was a good talk, but we spent a lot of time on it, so it was good.
Okay, but like as far as other agenda, I wasn't there, and
I
agenda
don't
wasn't
remember
sent
off
to
the top of my head.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get that filled in after
Dan,
the
I was
fact.
there. I was there. Dan, I was there last week. Sorry, the last one.
Uh-huh.
But I was there for only for the first hour where Alec was talking, so I don't know what happened after that. So
Okay, but that comprised the first hour of the meeting.
yeah, that's right.
Okay, and I know I think we had Keystone scheduled to come in, and they did not, so maybe things ended after that. Did anybody else stay for the duration? Oh, perfect timing. Ijlal, I see you joining now. Not trying to catch you just as you're getting organized into the meeting here, but were there other topics besides Alec's talk last meeting?
No, no progress and no discussions happened on the white papers. So no, just a tech talk.
Okay, great. Do we have anybody from the attestation SIG on the call today? Anybody who regularly attends?
I see Mark.
attend
I think he
regularly.
attends.
A couple of you spoke at the same time. They were scheduled to come in today, but I think Michelle wasn't able to reach any of the co-chairs directly. So if somebody wouldn't mind passing that along at the next attestation SIG meeting, I don't recall if that's this coming Tuesday or not.
Next Tuesday.
next Tuesday. So
Mhm.
this coming Tuesday is a week, like
I
an
believe
off
so.
week.
Let me double check. Yeah, it's June 2nd coming up.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind just passing along their due for coming in, that would
Yep.
be helpful for me. Thanks. And then if anybody wouldn't mind keeping an eye for Ming Shen to show up, I think he's probably the best one to interact with, sorting out what's going on with Keystone. Other things on the radar here are the Confidential Computing Summit. So this is a conference that was traditionally created and hosted by Opaque, and they are now kind of jointly owning it this year with the Linux Foundation, and then going forward, it'll be a Linux Foundation owned thing. So I just mentioned that as clarification that as the CCC, we are a sponsor.
Can I say that we don't, that's not confirmed at the moment. Okay. So we that may be the case, but we don't have that as a definite at this point.
Okay.
Sorry, just to you know.
Yeah, no, thank you for that clarification. Anyway, it's not a CCC owned conference, even though it's obviously very core to the topics that we talk about. The governing board, I believe, plans to meet the Monday afternoon that's just prior to the conference. I thought it'd be nice if anybody from the TAC community wants to meet up, we could look at similar timing. I'm not sure about the availability of the venue and whether we would be able to do that the Monday beforehand. Maybe Mike, you know?
I think it's a bit late to book somewhere now. It might just be easiest to meet in a sort of neutral venue, as it were. I don't have any.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit late to find someone now. Sorry.
Sure. Well, I mean, maybe one thing we could do is just allocate one of the days during lunchtime. We just have like TAC lunchtime or something and get together. I don't know what people think about that.
I can probably find a venue. I live in San Francisco, and lots of companies have offices, and I'm friends with them, so it's shouldn't be too hard. I just need to know dates, times, capacity, food, not food, all logistics.
Cool. So maybe we just do a quick straw poll right now of people in the meeting. Who among you plans to be at the summit? And you can maybe use your little virtual hand from Zoom. Cameron and Mike. Ophir. I'm going to be there, so that's 4 of us. Okay.
Also, probably worth putting on the Slack. I'll put a thing on the Slack now, on the TAC Slack, and see if there's a.
Yeah, so I already started a thread on the Slack. I hadn't seen anybody reply to it yesterday, but if you wanted to go poke that might help people see it. Okay, so I guess if, we have a lot of people absent today, but if it's just the 4 of us, then maybe it's easier to meet up.
We've just got thing from Alec on the TAC Slack apologizing that he's unable to join today. Apologies for the late notice.
Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move along then. Unless there's any other announcements from anybody, any big news that's good for the community to know about. Okay, so I will stop sharing, and we will give room for Juan to present. Juan is one of the maintainers of the SPDM project, and SPDM is one of these central protocols to being able to work with devices securely in confidential computing mode. And I will turn things over to Juan.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it?
I can.
Okay, sounds great. Now let's start. This is SPDM Tour Project Annual Review 2026. First, let me give a brief introduction for this project because I assume there are some new people here. It's a pure Rust version of SPDM library under CCC Tour SPDM RS. It's following the DMTF SPDM specification since 1.2 up to the latest 1.4, and it implement the spec 274, which is SPDM, and a 277, which is a secure message using SPDM. So SPDM stands for Secure Protocol and Data Model. This project also includes a lightweight implementation for PCIe IDK management protocol and the TDISP feature that is following the PCI-SIG. ID and the TDS are the protocols used in the TEIO use case, and they rely on SPDM to establish the secure session.
Could you
Since
maybe just for folks who aren't as familiar with SPDM, say a little bit about how it relates to IDE and TDISP in
okay,
kind of a flow? Or maybe
okay.
if you've got that coming up, feel free to do that.
No, I think I introduced that last time, so I put in the backup slides. But if you think people have interest to know that, I can present that again. This is a page I present the last annual review. Here is a typical use case for SPDM. So this is from Intel TSM. TSM stands for TE Security Manager. This is a TIO use case. You can see on the left-hand side is a TDX Connect, the host system. On the right-hand side is a TIO device. So basically, the host can offload some workload to a ITIO device. For example, the device could be a GPU card. Then the host can offload some AI workload from CPU to GPU. Let GPU do some computing like inference or training, whatever, and return the result to the host side. In the confidential computing use case, the host need to be verified that it is a trusted component. So the TD works as a TEE environment. And also you want to trust the EIO device as well, because you don't want to expose your secret to a malicious GPU card. That's why the host need to establish a secure communication session with a GPU card as a TEIO device. And all the workload it will be encrypted by the ID. So the ID stand for integrated data encryption. So ID is used to encrypt the data communication between host and the device. And the key we call is transferred by the IDKM protocol, which is protected by SPDM session. So this is a typical use case here. And also the host will use SPDM protocol to collect the device certificate and measurement to ensure this is a good device. It's a well-known device and it has a secure version. So we don't want to trust a old vulnerable device. So I'll say that is a typical use case for SPDM.
Okay, great. So if I just try to restate that, and you tell me if I got it right. SPDM sets up the channel through which you can exchange things like the certificate and attestation report. And if that checks out, then you'll program keys for IDE so that the stream is encrypted.
Yes, exactly.
And then TDISP is kind of like a state machine that manages what security state the device is in.
Right, exactly.
Thanks. I always need a refresher on that.
Yeah. Then go back. What is update since the last review in 2025? We know that SPDM 1.4 is published last year. The main feature in 1.4 is support PQC, post-quantum crypto. So since last review, we added 1.4 support. All messages are upgraded to support 1.4. And we add the 1.4 capability, large response capability. This capability is needed to support large certificate because the PQC has a big signature, digital signature. And also we add the PQC algorithm, MLDSM and MLCAM. So those two algorithms are listed as a mandatory from PCI-SIG. We do not implement SLH DSA. That is optional. And we created cross-test with another SPDM 1.4 implementation, which is maintained by DMTF, libSPDM project, to ensure the 1.4 implementation, especially the digital signature MLDSA and the key and the CAM as a key exchange are implemented correctly. For crypto binding, so currently the SPDM is using Ring, but Ring does not support PQC algorithm yet. So we add another crypto binding, AWS LCRS for STD support. So STD support is already added. If you want to try it, you can try it in the OS environment for the SPDM protocol. But for now STD, we are still working on that to see how to support. And another change is that we notice that web PKI is not well maintained. So we switch from web PKI to Rust TLS web PKI. That is almost equivalent for the original web PKI function, but maintained by the Rust TLS. That's better maintenance. At the same time, we're considering to remove web PKI at all because we just rely on web PKI to implement X59 parser. And SPDM has some special requirement like OID and checking, etc. So we're considering to implement X59 parser in our own code base.
Question before you move on?
Yes.
The implementations for MLDSA and CAM. Curious if you used an existing library for those or implemented them from scratch or how you went about that.
Oh yeah. Well, that is the second item. I use a crypto binding AWS LC, so it's implemented
Oh, I
here.
see. I see.
So SPDM-RS does not implement any crypto algorithm. It leverage a crypto binding.
I see. I misunderstood what you meant by that, but now I get it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a rule number one. Do not implement your own crypto. Okay, move on. That's plan. 1.4 for FIPS, we notice that SPDM key exchange is approved by the FIPS officially. It is mentioned in the FIPS 140-3 implementation guide document. It's a great progress. We're considering to add the SPDM key exchange test there to make it verifiable. And also the original when we create SPDMRs, we tried Rudra and the MRI for the formal verification, but both projects are not maintained and not working anymore because we are SPNRS on the new Rust toolchain, but those two old projects does not support the latest toolchain. So we're considering remove them and evaluating the new formal tools, Rust formal tools, one called Kani and another called Varus. So we're trying to see if we can use those two to replace the old Rudra and AI, just to add some checker for the current implementation. And those are two different formal tool. Kani is for bounded model checker and Varus for detective verify. And now we're still considering if we can have some budget to support the third-party penetration test. I think I raised that last time, but we are out of budget. So, any questions for this page?
Yes, I have one, but Mike, you have your. Do you have a question first? Or?
Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay,
Dan, now
yes.
it's all yours.
Yes, thanks. So, yeah, can you clarify what is in scope for the formal verification? What it is that you are trying to verify? What is in the model? What is left out?
That's a great question. I haven't. So the main things I probably want to verify is it has some security one is the security vulnerability, and the second is it follows the specification clearly. So for example, I did a quick try for use Kani and let Kani to generate some security property. Sorry. Use the AI tool to generate security property from SPDM specification. Then write some formal verification based upon the property extracted from the SPDM specification to see if the implementation did implement the required security property and of course feature property as well. That is a one usage I'm thinking, and I did a try, and it did find a miss implementation for that.
So hopefully I can see two big buckets to verify. One of them is to check that the implementation is a refinement of the specification and that it is safe and functionally correct. And then the second bucket will be to check that the specification as written actually has the target security properties that it claims. From what you are describing, it's mostly the refinement proof so far, or do you also do security proof?
You mean to verify the spec?
Yes. That the spec actually it's a mutual authentication for the key exchange, for example.
Oh, I see. So this is not my purpose.
Okay.
At least not my purpose for this project. And I know that somebody already used Tamarin to verify the SPDM specification, especially the key exchange part.
Okay.
And I think someone also tried the ProVerif. So Tamarin and the ProVerif can be used to verify the specification. But those two are listed here. The intention is just to check the SPDM-IS code. So,
Okay, thank you.
Adoption. Originally, last time I only list interconnect TSM, but recently in this year we adopt the SPDM to the migration TD project as well, for live migration. So migration TD is it's a service TD running on two hosts. One is local, another is remote. So both host system need to establish a secure session to exchange the migration key. The migration key is used to encrypt the data on the source machine and let the destination machine decrypt the data. So that is another usage for SPDM. I would say a new usage for SPDM protocol since my last review.
Cool.
Okay. Last page. The charter has no change. Project status on track. This is still here. Request the budget if we have for the penetration test. License, no change. This best practice badge is still 97.
That's great that you've got that. Yeah, and sorry about the budget. We had wanted to allocate funding to do that, but the consortium had we had been deficit spending for a couple of years and decided that we were deficiting too much. So a lot of the TAC budget was not approved in the last fiscal cycle.
Okay. Yeah, that's all. So I will send the deck to you so you can attach, and in the backup page, I attach the review last year. So if people want to know the background, maybe look at that as well. So it's introduced what SPDM is, what is 1.1, 1.0, 1.1, etc., and also introduce the TIO use case. So yeah, that's all.
Okay, that's
Right.
great. A lot of solid progress there. I haven't seen many of our projects solve the PQC challenge yet, so glad to see that that is already in the SPDM project. I think that's a pretty important milestone.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the community?
Jivan, I have one question. Is this project just related to Intel EIO, or is it more applicable to other platforms like AMD, SMP, SCV, and other platforms?
I think from project perspective, it does not bind to TDX or TDX Connect. So it's a generic project. If you want to use, you can definitely use.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for the update again, Jiwan, and thanks for making sure that this is all contributed into the community. And so everybody who's a part of the CCC or even unaffiliated is welcome to make use of this open source project.
I'm going to head. Fantastic, really good update. Thanks, everyone. If you need to get in touch with me, I've put my details as always in the chat. Really good to see you, and have a good rest of the meeting. And thanks, Dan, and everyone involved. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, I will stop sharing. So go back to you there.
Alrighty. Let me get the slides back up on my end. So one of the things I wanted to do was get people into the vote for the collaborative cleanroom blueprint. So this is Blueprint C. This was co-authored by Renee and Mingshen. And so we've got Google and TikTok voting, NVIDIA voted, and then I think other people are for some reason not seeing the thread. And I know that we've got Nathaniel and Scott on. Do we have anybody else joining yet who are voting members who have not voted?
Yeah, I didn't see the thread. You're absolutely right. I'm looking for it right now. It's the first I heard of it.
Yeah, I gotta dig it out too. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. If for some reason the list isn't producing messages for people, that would be good for us to know. But I know we all
I'm also just bad at email.
yeah, it's a challenge for all of us. So yeah, so you can also go on to this URL. It might be easier than digging it out of your email, but I would also like to know if the mail never reached people, then we could possibly have a problem with the list. Probably not the case, probably just in the slurry of the hundreds of emails that we get all the time. But you can always go directly to reply from the web interface for the list. Simon, I'm wondering, should you be listed as an alternate to Alec?
Happy to do so. Yeah, I think Alec and I think we kind of discussed this last week, didn't we? If one of us wasn't available, then the other could vote in their absence. I mean, I have reviewed the doc. I mean, I didn't necessarily have any particular issue with it, but I kind of left back given Alec was the primary voting member.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you sync with Alec, and feel free to if Alec, I mean, if you guys are on board with you being the alternate, then you can always vote in his stead.
Sure.
And then
yeah, I'll follow up with him a bit later today.
Okay, great, thanks. And then Michelle, if you want to update the slides going forward, thank you for joining, by the way, that Simon's the alternate for Microsoft.
Sure, will do.
And I don't know if you're going to catch the recording afterwards, but before you joined, I want to point out that the minutes, this automated minute stuff, is doing its job in getting the initial, wow, this is slow, getting the initial stub of the minutes up, but it doesn't actually have the contents. So it just, it's pre-populated the sections, but we're not getting the actual minutes in yet.
Yeah, that's I'm a little bit behind on going back to the two meetings I missed. So that's on my to-do to get done this week and get us all caught up.
Okay. Let's see here. Do we have minutes for the 319?
I think I just have the 14th, and then I think it was like 328 or something. Those are
Yes, it looked like it was the last three meetings.
Yeah.
This one is populated, so I would love if Simon or Scott or Nathaniel, or really anybody, just goes in and double checks. We don't have to be persnickety about typos or anything, but just if we've got the substance of the meeting captured, because we do occasionally go back to these, especially if there was ever a decision or a vote or anything during that meeting. That's important as a responsibility for maintaining a public record there.
Sure. Yeah, I'll have to go and have a look later.
Thank you.
Well, I say later. Unfortunately, it'll be tomorrow morning, but yeah, I'll have a crack.
Sure. And our regular cadence for this, so we just always have somebody who knows it's their job, is the intent is that the co-chair, so Monday, that will be Mingshen, and Mingshen will be asked to go look at the minutes from today, so that he kind of has those in context when he prepares the agenda for the next session. So that's intended to be the cycle. Go back far enough. Do I have? Sorry, bear with me for a minute while I get into. Oops, right past it. There we go. All right, so this was to be Bob Bob is not here. Mingshen is next. Nathaniel, you'll probably get a bye week because I think this is the week of the summit. So we'd either have to ripple that change all the way through or just you probably.
Yeah, I'll actually be at another conference that week anyway, so
Yeah.
I'm not coming that week no matter what.
Okay.
I'm happy
So I
to
think-
switch with somebody else though, if they'd prefer.
Yeah, I think we have at least like Yash accidentally still in this list, so we might swap you in there. But there's enough time between then and now that we can sort that out. But the general idea is, Mingshen will be at the stand-up the next two meetings. And then when we resume our normal cadence after the summit, then Renee or Keith will be at the stand-up on Monday for the first, or for those 2 weeks. And then we can get some of this logistical stuff out of the way. All right, so that was the vote. That was the SPDM update. And now we've got Mark with us. Mark has been leading the governance risk and compliance SIG from its inception. All of the work that we do, it's always a little bit of a challenge to get on people's calendars and make sure that people are engaged and contributing on a regular basis. And I know that is challenging. So I think that's one of the topics that Mark wants to talk about. I don't know if you have slides to present, but
No slides. I'll just talk through this.
Okay.
Okay, hi. So let's see. First, a recap on what the GRC SIG is and what it has done to date. Then I want to talk about why all of this matters. And then I want to talk about the next steps. So to date, what we've done in the GRC SIG is, by the way, our governance and compliance is split across two SIGs. The GRC SIG is specifically focused on threat model informed governance of confidential computing. And governance is effectively how do you design your products and how so that they have the appropriate governance levers, so that with those governance levers, you know that you are actually achieving the promises of confidential computing. And I will explain in a minute why that's important. So what we've done to date, we have published 3 different governance patterns. So there's how do you govern your workload, how do you govern your workload upgrades with high availability, and how you govern verifiers. Most recently, we put up for publication as soon as the pull request goes through another governance pattern on trusted intermediaries. So basically, how do you govern forward and reverse proxies, application firewalls, load balancers, and whatnot. Now, why this is important, much like a lot of what I do in the consortium, it's actually about money. It's about unblocking adoption. And the biggest market for confidential computing is regulated industries. So like I used to always joke that we have 2 classes of customers, the paranoid and the regulated, and the paranoid have no money. But the regulated do. But see, for a regulated institution dealing with, like in our case, over 100 different regulators worldwide, broadly speaking, won't move a finger unless there is either a strong business case or a strong compliance case. A strong compliance case is actually generally easier to make because when a regulator wants something, it's not a suggestion. So the other SIG is doing outreach to regulators. And what we're doing is basically publishing guidance for how to, do the governance. Now, the thing here is that there is sort of a chicken and egg problem. There's a catch-22. Regulators are not going to put in requirements unless the technology is sufficiently broadly adopted. So like SSL was not mandated until the SSL was implemented everywhere, same with at-rest encryption like BitLocker and whatnot. And confidential computing will be faced with similar challenge. So we need to get regulators to basically say, look, you got to protect your data in use, or maybe in certain cases, we may need to, some cases sort of come up organically. So for instance, if we operate in a high-risk location where we do not trust local government effectively, then, yeah, okay, we have our own technical case for doing it. But for broad adoption by regulated institutions, the regulators at some point in time need to say, you got to do it. And this is what we need to unlock. And content computing is an ecosystem. There are workloads, there are verifiers, there are all these reverse proxies that we're talking about. And coming up, if we were to continue the GRC SIG, the work would involve probably the next two most important things on our radar would be confidential inferencing and confidential training. So the scenarios involving creating models in a way that does not divulge either models or model architecture, weights, training material, whatever, to unauthorized parties. Or it would be, how do you make sure that you can share a model and execute a model somewhere without, again, losing access to what is important to you. And there are important cases there where, for instance, there is a vendor that wants to sell something like maybe a trained model for trading strategies, and it needs to be customized by another organization for their specific needs. So there is mutual distrustful relationship there already. We do not want to leak our model, and you do not want to leak your additional tuning. And then together, we need to put that into some cloud, maybe run it in Google or Azure, and we don't want them to learn any of our secrets. So how to create this combination of things, how to make it governable, what governance levers exist, how do you prove to all the involved parties that you are in fact keeping all of their secrets, etc. So which brings me to next steps. Oh, and by the way, so the impact this is having. So for instance, we have a verifier governance pattern, and inside the firm, we are developing what's called control objectives and control procedures around data and use protection. And the documents that the GRC SIG provides become an input into the creation of our internal governance frameworks. And every bank, every healthcare institution, every insurance, every regulated institution is effectively going to go through the same process, right? So, and then it becomes a two-way conversation. So one of the things we discovered in verifier governance is that there actually has to be an additional requirement that we haven't captured yet. There has to be a separation of trust anchors. So relying parties, the ultimate relying parties, actually, for compliance reasons, cannot trust the verifier, but they can only trust the IDP, right? So again, this is a feedback loop that informs design. So I guess what has been happening, however, is the GRC SIG meetings are very sparsely attended. Sometimes it's nobody shows up, sometimes one person shows up. And for the last, I would say, 6 months, I've been carrying that mantle effectively by myself. And if you have attended, thank you very much. But it's really, everyone knows it's been inconsistent and very sparse. So I can still continue the work of figuring out how to govern the things, say around inferencing and training and whatever else comes up internally to, with my employer. But for the GRC SIG to continue as a going concern inside the CCC, we need people to participate, right? And again, the impact is very significant because nobody of your customers actually knows what to do with this technology, how to govern it, what governance levers exist, what evidence to expect, what requirements to put on it or not put on it. That creates either vacuum or inconsistencies, and all of those become adoption blockers and frictions. So that's what I'm coming to the TAC with. I'm also chairing the Trustworthy Workload Identity SIG, so I'll speak up again when we talk about the identity breach pattern in a minute. But for the GRC SIG to continue, and for me to continue in this role, I cannot do this alone. I need significant amount of participation and help.
Yeah, so I know we had exchanged a few notes, so I'll just kind of throw these out here for discussion. Sometimes meeting time is challenged. There's no one time of day that's good for everybody. So I don't know if moving the meeting time would help anybody be able to contribute, or if you know people from your company that should be involved in helping to shape these patterns that aren't engaged.
Yeah. It may also be that under different leadership, it's going to get better engagement. Like there is no ego here in this for me. Like I do not mind, giving the chairmanship to someone, else who maybe has different strategies for engaging and all of that. So the goal, however, is to unblock adoption and give customers guidance because it's lacking. It's not there. Tom?
Yeah, so I've been trying to do that, and I guess my camera isn't working. I don't know where it is. The problem that we have run into with regulation is the end device. So regulation needs to know who sees it among everything else, and the who sees it problem or who has access to it problem means that we have to push it down to the place where the results are displayed for a human being generally, because that's what the regulator wants to track, right? The human being that's on the edge device. So I wondered if confidential computing had ever thought about trying to get into the edge device and trying to make sure that the protection boundary goes to the edge device.
Well, so I will first of all say that edge device is important, but not the only game in town. So, for instance, it's very important, for instance, for German customers to know that their data is processed in Germany. And for that, confidential computing is actually a perfect use case because you can basically attest to a location of a workload much stronger with confidential computing than without. And there is any number of other issues. But for edge devices, I believe the problem is availability of trust execution environments and do you run Excel in the trust execution environment? What does that look like? I believe the technical difficulties there are very, very significant, the challenges. And the regulators, again, are not going to mandate anything that's not in broad adoption. So you have to tackle the adoption angle first, make it possible to do.
Well, the question here was, and it was actually for JP Morgan at one point, was so the regulator comes and asks a question, who saw this data?
Mm-hmm.
You need to answer. And
well, that would normally be done via audit logs because all data access is certainly authenticated, but it stops there. Like if somebody takes a screenshot of this data or just a photograph and starts sending it around, there is your mitigations are limited.
That's exactly the point. So the point was that how do we block the screenshot function?
You can't.
Oh, we can.
Oh, I can take a picture with my phone.
Ah, you mean you can take a picture of the phone itself?
Well, yeah.
You can't stop that, right?
No.
I'm talking about screenshots on the device.
Yeah, well, that's done routinely. Even Zoom clients can do that. But again, lots of people with their hands raised, but
yeah, I'll shut up then.
I think Hank was next.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Hi, this is Hank. Hi, Mark. Hi then. So I think that the edge device, of course, is a very visible use case, but it kind of, except of can the app do a screenshot or not, which is a reference value check on the remote station of the enlightened workload, I assume, or maybe even of the loaded blob on the platform. I think that can do that trick. I think the real question here, where does the data go? And that is invisible to the edge device. So it doesn't really matter if it goes to the edge device or to whatever else. I think the whole exposure of data is relevant.
Yeah.
It has to be transparent to a certain
But again, to pop up a level, my question here is about how does the GRCC go forward if people don't participate?
Okay, yeah, let's get
what exactly we do
here,
inside the SIG, we can discuss in those meetings.
I went through the technical problem. Yeah, so time-wise, it's awful, yeah. But also, again, it would yet be another thing. So even if it would be in a good time, if I would have to choose between try and governance, and I am definitely sure that people are thinking and writing about CC inference internally. Definitely. I wouldn't be able to participate in that endeavor in any case. No, it's a time amount in the week thing, not a time of the day thing.
Okay, thanks for that. I don't know if Simon, if you're still on, I know you had to drop.
Yeah,
So
I'm going to have to drop shortly. I mean, it'll be useful to understand what kind of time commitment you require on that. I think I maybe participated that way back when I first sort of joined Microsoft way back at the beginning. I have some experience in that pace coming from from DBS. We spent a lot of time in that space, particularly around that endpoint piece as well. So I can't do that now, but then maybe Mark, you and I are going to talk in the next couple of days. So I'm happy to have a chat with you if maybe there's something I can offer in that.
Yeah.
Cool. And unfortunately, I've got to drop now, folks. But thanks very much.
Chris, looks like you're up next.
Okay. First of all, Mark, thank you so much for leading this group. It does, I think, play an important function. But as you posed the problem today, and I'm guilty of being an on-again, off-again contributor, it made me wonder whether we really have the right people in the Confidential Computing Consortium to participate in this. And in particular, it seems like the people who have the strongest self-interest are the ones who are deploying the technology, whereas many of the people in the Confidential Computing Consortium come from technology suppliers. And yes, as suppliers, you have to understand your customer and get ahead of the game. But it seems to me like I wonder if there's just needs to be a special recruiting effort to go after the companies that are trying to use this and that actually face regulatory hurdles and are trying to address those problems, as you personally are in your role. I think that's why you're so effective in this kind of role, but we need counterparts to you somehow in order to make this successful.
So if a regulator never demands anything, then we don't need to ever do anything. Okay. So, the reason, my particular role is I am at the Cybersecurity and Technology Controls Organization, and I represent the people who actually understand why it benefits the business, right? So, you know how like compliance, like engineers don't understand certain things. Like compliance is a far more moneyed field than security, right? So that's one of those things. And the other thing is that if, so again, if regulators don't ask for it, you don't do it. But if you're going to sell into, a moneyed institution, actually, the best ways to sell is not increased security, but reduced audit scope. Right. So if you actually have to check your boxes and get PCI compliance, that can save tens of millions of dollars.
But to go into second order here, I've said this before, the regulators can only require things that are cheaper to implement than the cost of lobbyists. Right. So if you want to get something approved by a regulator, you have to drive the cost down.
Let me make just one more observation that there is, you're describing a little bit of a chicken and an egg problem here. And to some extent, one would hope that increasing, or not increasing, but compliance, you would hope that it's somewhat congruent with actual security. And if we do our jobs properly here, then confidential computing is, compliance actually does help with security. But I think that particular business of working with NIST and not exactly lobbying, but helping people understand that if we followed these governance patterns, security would increase. And yes, there is actually a way to introduce a compliance component that is meaningful. Yeah. That's part of a charter that I think the governance committee has recently set aside. And I wonder if its confidential computing isn't still at a point in its development where that outreach, that persuasion, that analysis and education of the compliance regulators is still important.
Well, I mean, the regulations will come either way or the other. Another thing to consider is, are they going to come on our terms? Or they're going to be some really weird thing that would be hard to satisfy. So, like, I think the strategy has been, and I think it's a good one, is there is a team that specifically engages with regulators, but they don't develop content as far as, this is how you handle this technology. And then what the GRC SIG does today is actually develops the content to present to potential regulators and say, these are the things that we deem important in ensuring that this technology actually delivers on its promise. So it's a long game. I mean, don't make any mistakes. It's a long game because regulators move slowly, regulated institutions move slowly. At the same time, if you don't do anything for a year, the problem just gets pushed another year out. So, and I can tell you with certainty, like the content that has been developed to date is actively used in production, certainly at JP Morgan. I mean, one thing we could do is we could invite other customers into the consortium and do that kind of outreach, and also socialize our content to these institutions and basically say, hey, United Healthcare, hey, such and such insurance group, these are the business cases. And again, you can have a business case around reducing audit scope, and that will sell like hotcakes. But then we have to be ready on sort of the supplier end to say, well, and this technology is deployable. By the way, there are 3 barriers to deployment still. The regulations is one. Performance, and this is the whole TDISP, TDSM stuff, needs to be ubiquitous because nobody is going to take a performance hit that constellation computing requires today for vast majority of applications. And the third one's identity, and that's what the TWI SIG is doing, and this is what I recently discovered Simon Gallagher is writing up.
I think you
So all
circled back
3,
to my
like we need to
original
pursue
point.
basically, strategically, we need to pursue all these directions. None of them are optional.
Yeah, I guess, I think my ears picked up that you circled back to the need to pull in more end user customers into these conversations because they're the ones who have, the most urgent need, desire, and interest to explore governance topics. So that might be an essential element
And
of
the other
revitalizing
thing
this
is,
thing.
right, that's the mind share. So we did what's like at work, what's called an architectural kata. This is how we train our architects. And then we basically presented to them the idea of effectively, I don't know, like a bunch of institutions collaborating on anti-money laundering while satisfying all sorts of privacy, et cetera, regulations. And nobody understood that confidential computing is distinct from multi-party computation, that you actually don't need to do fancy mathematical tricks to do certain things. But that's kind of education helps. But again, new technology, it's a very new tool set, and it needs to be understood by customers. And again, the GRC SIG, coming back to what I'm saying, like, performance will be solved elsewhere, identity will be solved elsewhere. But threat model informed guidance, I cannot move forward by myself. All right, and like Bank of America is not going to help you because they also don't understand the technology. Like it needs to be someone who certainly understands the technology and ideally its applications.
So one other mechanism I want to offer is that we could allocate portions of some TAC meetings to be basically GRC working SIG sessions. So we might, if we went down the path of not having separate GRC SIG meetings, or maybe if you were still having those but wanted to grow engagement, we could allocate time, like we clearly have engagement in this discussion about some of the topics that have raised up. So that would be an option.
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly once we have TDISP and then we have multi-attesters that needs governance, once we figure out the identity story that will need governance, like, as we progress and solve more problems Everything has to come with governance levers and knowing who is expecting what from whom and what kind of evidence they expect and how to safeguard this evidence and what are things to avoid and do and not do. It's a rich field, and if you don't get things right, well, you know how security is. You have to get everything right, or else. Eric?
Thanks. I'm more of a lurker here, but I do have an interest in, there's some ISO work that's going on right now with confidential computing, the 25093 project, and my role is I chair the U.S. Mirror Committee to the ISO IEC JTC1 SE27 Standards Committee. And so how does that plug in here, or does it?
It's the sister SIG. All engagements with regulators are done by the name is similar. I forget the name, but
Regulatory and Standards.
Yeah, it's chaired by a colleague of mine, Michael Guzman, and Regulatory and Standards. Please engage with them.
The ISO work specifically, we had to have a liaison because of how that is structured. So that's Alec from Microsoft.
So okay, so clearly because of my role on the U.S. side, I may be helpful. And you brought up NIST. There actually is a NIST individual who has joined the editing team. I know that because I actually had to approve that because NIST is a U.S. member of the Mirror Committee. So NIST is engaging on some of the confidential computing stuff. The other question I had has to do with TDISP, since this was mentioned. And, Samsung, I'm involved at the SSD level, so the storage side of things. And there have recently been conversations about what is potentially needed from a TDISP perspective all the way down to sort of drive level. And there are some early conversations as about what's going to happen there. And I'm curious, have you guys thought through what you need, down to the storage level of the TDISP equation? Is that something that's been discussed here?
So we did have a storage tech talk, I want to say last fall from, I will probably not attribute the company correctly, but we did have a talk, and then I think the presenter intended to come back and then did not really continue that thread. I think there's a lot of interest in figuring out storage because it's not really well architected right now for most solutions, or I shouldn't say it's not well, it's just not part of the confidential computing equation very well right now. So I would love for there to be an ongoing topic about that. I don't know if that's GRC related, but it's definitely something that we can allocate time for in the TAC.
Okay. And I'm involved with the Trusted Computing Group in particular, the storage work groups. This is where some of those conversations, very, very, very preliminary, have happened. But I'm trying to figure out where to plug in the right way here. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, I would love to pick those conversations up here in the TAC. We can definitely do that, and if there's enough momentum and diverse interests, then we could always create another working group, another SIG. But as Mark's presence here today helps make clear, once we separate a topic and have a separate meeting about it, then you kind of fracture the community a little bit. So it might be best to keep it in this broader group until it has enough critical mass that it could live by itself.
Thanks.
So I don't know if we have pretty light attendance today, but I don't know if any of the other community members, voting or not, have an opinion about using part of our time on our bi-weekly sessions for GRC topics.
we can give it a try once. I mean, it's kind of dry and technical, and it's a, it's kind of a niche topic. So for instance, how do you do confidential training? You're figuring out who are the actors, which assets they protect, what governance levers can exist to exert control, and how do you know that they're actually working? So these are sort of, discussions. I do not know. I guess they're very exciting to a particular type of person.
Well, I mean, this is a meeting of nerds, so I don't think it's
Okay.
going to be a problem. I think some of our most productive sessions are the ones where we do set working time. That's how we've managed the
Yeah.
blueprints docs the first half of this year.
Well, I would encourage folks to review. So I believe I emailed the TAC with the pull request, or maybe I emailed you, Dan, and maybe socialize it to the TAC. But I now have a pull request with the reverse proxy or proxies and gateways. It's called governance pattern. Why don't you look over it, provide comments, or have any questions, and then see if that is something, that is the kind of content you want discussed in the TAC. Because that document is basically signed off by the GRC SIG. Like, we went over a couple of months and created the content, or mostly me. But for it to become an official consortium document, I still want the TAC to review it and say, this is a good thing for us. This is how we want to see the content done. So, take a look. That would be the first, urgent ask, so we can publish this document.
Yeah, so let's remember to get that on the agenda for the next session. So that'll be for Mingshen, and maybe Michelle, you could help us remember that.
Yeah, but I'm monitoring that PR. If you make any comments in GitHub, I'm on it.
Thank you. Chris, did you have another response there?
Just a minor comment that I think it would be a great experiment for raising awareness, and maybe finding connections to the kinds of end users that care. But to me, the problem is really finding the right end users to participate. And I'm not clear that the TAC is. I mean, it's as far as I can see, it's primarily tech providers, not tech users with that deep or original need.
Yeah, I agree. We want more, and so maybe that's an action item for Mike Purcell. So Mike Purcell is already, I'm sure, very aware that we want the adopters in the membership, but it doesn't hurt to have another reminder. But it's also true that some of the vendors are themselves needing to satisfy regulatory interests. So think about Meta, for example. So you could view them as a vendor, but they're also securing the WhatsApp product using confidential computing. So I imagine they've got some sort of regulatory obligations with that. In each of the CSPs that's a participant, they're both vendors and adopters as well. So I think there's both of those interests. Okay, so I think I'll wind up the conversation with where it's at there. We'll put you on the agenda for next session, Mark, to talk about that pattern, and then kind of gauge interest from there, and see about having GRC topics as a kind of continuing stream for us. All right, the other things that we had on the agenda for today were to do working time on the patterns A and B documents. So I think
Simon said he has a clash, so he cannot speak for pattern A.
Right, he's done both A and B. So
right, okay.
I think what I'm going to suggest is let's use the rest of the time that we have on our calendars here to put some reviews into those documents, but we won't do that live as far as having the Zoom session up. We'll just kind of wrap up the meeting, but I'm going to ask people to make use of it.
I expect significant changes to the identity bridge blueprint after I talk to Simon.
Okay. All right, anything from anyone else? Okay, so, oh, Hank, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't want to interrupt and derail the governance discussion again with the technical detail. Hi, this is Hank. Hi, Eric. There is work from Linaro emerging. So you were talking about devices like disks and the TDISP requirements on composing device association for confidential composite environments. So a device is part of that. That is very clear. And there's this bottom up. So the device is a component in that composite. There's a top-down effort from Linaro, lab in Linaro, that is a trustworthy device association. So people see this coming from the Linux kernel side and try to proactively create a bucket how to express device association in a composite confidential computing environment. And maybe put a link into the chat. Maybe that is of interest. Just as an FYI, that this that the output of TDISP when it becomes a real boy, it is already a little bit anticipated from the Linux kernel part side.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, I'm definitely involved in the PCI SIG activity and that whole space. I've been tracking TDIS for a while, but it's because I deal with SSDs. I've got the day job has an interest in that as well. But also, as I said, TCG has been sniffing around this space. So yeah, if you put a link in, I'll chuck it down. Thanks.
I put it in. It's the first one is wrong. I was looking for DA and found DAA, which of course is the wrong draft. It's a ETDA draft in the chat. That's just me being too hasty.
Got it.
When posting.
Thanks.
Okay, great. So yeah, Eric, feel free to put forth any dates on the upcoming calendar that you'd like to maybe initiate some of those storage discussions, and I think we can help get that underway. All right, with that, we'll wind up the meeting, but again, please use the rest of the time that you had allocated for the meeting to go and progress blueprints A and B. And I will drop the link in real quick. There's A. And B. So all right, so that's it for today then. Thank you.